Dan Martell.
Dan Martell.
Dan Martell.
Dan is a Wall Street Journal best-selling author.
Of the best-selling book, Buy Back Your Time.
He's the founder of SaaS Academy.
Was named one of Canada's top angel investors.
He's a highly sought-after executive coach.
Dan Martell.
Most people don't have the money they want, not because they're not skillful, it's because they don't feel they deserve it. You don't get what you think you deserve, you get what you think you're worth. The biggest abuse to a child is an unlived dream of a parent.
Wow. They say there's no shortcut to success, but maybe there is. If you could find someone who's already achieved what you aspire to achieve, learning from them can really fast track your journey. I'm living proof of this. I wasn't always a believer in coaching or mentorship. I didn't understand the value. But when I was struggling to get to the next level with my software company, Webinar Ninja, I sought out help. And that's when I met today's guest, Dan Martell. Dan was my coach for several years as I was growing my company, Webinar Ninja. I'm proof that having a great coach actually helps. The business grew to over 30,000 users. We made millions of dollars, and the company was so valuable, it got acquired by ProProfs. So in my book, this concept of coaching actually works. And that's what we talk about in today's episode with Dan Martell. Why you should get a coach, why he gets coaches, how do you find a mentor, how do you learn from somebody so that you can grow faster? Dan shares some incredible value in today's episode, including his story. And it's nothing short of incredible. At 17, he found himself in a prison cell, on the wrong path, mixed up in drugs. That moment became a catalyst for change. He learned to program. He learned to start building businesses and building software. And he went to launch and sell 3 successful companies. Today, he runs SaaS Academy, the largest coaching program for SaaS founders in the world. If he stopped there, he would be a legend. But he is beyond a legend. Dan is the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of Buy Back Your Time, a must-read for anyone who values their most precious asset, their time. His book has inspired countless entrepreneurs, and since its release, Dan has become a prominent online figure with rapid growth on YouTube and social media. In this episode, we dive into the power of mentorship, how to find the right coach, and the importance of leveraging other people's experiences to accelerate your own success. Dan has a unique perspective on growth that I am thrilled to share with you. So let's jump right into that conversation with Dan Martell. Dan, so good to see you again in person. I think last time we saw each other was right before COVID, 2020, Atlanta SaaS Academy.
Sure was. That was a while ago. And it was just like we crept in before they closed the doors. I remember that so much. 100%.
It was a crazy time.
For everybody.
For those who don't know, I started to get to know you through mutual friends, but we really got to know each other when you became my coach. And I never was a coach guy. Like I never really had a lot of coaches, read a lot of books, watched a lot of videos, had some mentors along the way. I would love to learn a little bit more about like who was like the first person that gave you this kind of feeling like maybe I can do something with my life. Who kind of like influenced in your life that was like a mentor or somebody that kind of just turned it on for you?
Well, I mean, there would be 2 answers. The first person that ever spoke belief in me as a human was a guard named Brian. That was back when I was 17.
Like a security guard?
Yeah, like a prison guard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people new to my story, I just made a series of bad decisions as a teenager and just ended up in a lot of trouble. So, to go from that conversation where at a time when I didn't even believe I deserved to breathe the air, having Brian share with me that, he didn't understand why I was in prison was like a pivotal moment in my life. And then honestly, I got out and I only had one strategy or one plan was to stay sober. Like I just knew my life was a lot better if I wasn't using drugs, which luckily I was successful at, which is very rare. Like most people, the recidivism rate or even the relapse rate was really high. And then I started building companies at a very young age, software specifically. I actually learned how to write code in rehab, which is kind of bananas. But it wasn't till I was 23 that I read a book that inspired me to get a coach. And that guy's name was Bob, this crazy Canadian dude. It was funny because I didn't have any money. Like I think I had like $5,000 in my bank account. He was $1,500 a month US. And I figured it was a year commitment. And my math was, well, if he's so good, he'll teach me how to make money.
You get an ROI.
So I had 2 months worth of money to pay him. So I was like, let's get to work.
This is not financial advice.
Yeah, not financial advice, but it was beautiful in the sense that I showed up to those calls going, I need to get some return. So he always laughed. I mean, I went from 2 failed companies, 17, 19. I went consulting for a while, tried again at 23. So at 24, I started my 3rd company. And in the first year, Bob showed me how to build a business, and we did almost $1 million in revenue, $960,000 in 12 months. So obviously the ROI was massive, but I think there was just also perfect timing for who I was at the time. Like I was just so hungry and dedicated, and I just looked at it as like, if I would have kept doing the thing I was doing and expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. So the only thing that I hadn't done up to that point was hire somebody to help me.
What do you think you did that helped you succeed with Bob?
I did everything he told me to do. I did not argue with him. Trust me, as a coach today, that is unfortunately the byproduct sometimes of people you help. They're like, oh, but I'm a special snowflake. I'm like, no, you're not. Yeah, but it won't work for me. Yes, it will. You know, so like what happens, because it was such a large part of my money saved, I was like, I only have one option, is to follow everything he tells me. So I call it model. Then once I learned how it worked, then I could modify. So like the first thing he ever got me to do was to write my eulogy. I mean, today you hear it, like begin with the end in mind, right? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And first thing he made me do is like fast forward to, you know, I'm now in the casket and there's people getting on stage talking about my life from different aspects, from my impact to my business, to my community, to my family, and what would I like for them to say? And with that North Star, all right, now we build a business. That was the first thing he got me to do. And I just think that I had such agency, like I call it like zero knowing doing gap. As soon as he told me to do so, sometimes I'd want to hang up the call 20 minutes in because I was like, I got to go do that. And he's like, calm down, Dan, just like, let's finish the concepts. And then, you know, I would just execute like nobody's business. And he tells people like I was one of his favorite clients because like I didn't question him. I didn't argue with him. If he taught me how to do something, I just went and ferociously executed. And I think that pattern and that muscle I developed is the reason why I ended up, you know, exiting that company 4 years later and became a multimillionaire.
I'm going to dig a little because I know people that are watching and listening are going to be like, okay, great. How do I find my Bob? Like, how did you find Bob?
Well, I read a book and I went on the internet and I searched the title plus coach. But I don't even tell people to do that now because, again, I don't, like you said, it's not financial advice. Like, if you got $5,000 in savings, you shouldn't spend all of it on a coach. Or maybe you should. I don't know. Like, I also don't want to stop people from, like, you know, whipping that football down the field and pulling a Hail Mary if they feel inclined to do so. But I just think there's mentors all around us, you know? So after I understood the value of mentorship or advice from other people, because that's the difference, right? A book's beautiful because for $20, you can literally get 20 years of experience.
Yeah.
Like that's like there's no better trade, period, full stop. The challenge with a book is that I then have to interpret what I'm reading to apply it to my life. So I'm the translator of the content to map to the context, which is tough because, you know, I mean, how many times have you reread a book and it's like you've never read it because who you are today is not who you were. So there's this lost in translation thing that can happen. Whereas with a coach, they do that translation for you. They map the content, their strategies to your context, your situation, so that it hits harder, it works better. And that's where like a mentor, even if you're not paying for them, you know, finding somebody that's been to where you want to be is a key thing. I always say that, you know, mentors are people you turn to instead of your parents when you have big life decisions. Because if I turn to my parents, I'm going to get the same life as they have. And if I aspire to live a bigger life than my parents, it's actually a flawed strategy for me to turn to them because they're going to give me the advice that they would do, which is going to get me the results they got, which kind of doesn't make sense. So where I look for mentors is nonprofit boards. It's my favorite place. Every city.
Got time.
Dude, they show you they're generous. They've got time. They're public. You know who they are. And most people make the mistake of trying to find some person on social media that they follow. I mean, I'm not your guy. Like hitting me up to ask me to go for coffee, not going to work. Whereas somebody that's a local, you know, ambassador for a certain nonprofit that's got experience, like you,
and they're doing well. Like they're all around us, and we don't even know.
They're right there. Yeah. Those people have actually become some of the most influential people in my life.
Right.
And they're very successful. They're just not on Facebook publishing or on LinkedIn. So mentors are all around. It's just you have to be a good mentee, and most people don't know how to do that.
That's incredible, man. And the reason why I was sold on SaaS Academy, which was the largest SaaS training program or training
In the world, yeah.
in the world. And the reason we told about, we were talking beforehand, our mutual friend Rob, and the reason why I was kind of sold on you before we talked was that you've already accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, which was a successful exit with my SaaS. At the time, Webinar Ninja was trying to get over the hump. We were working really hard, but our churn was out of control. And we just needed somebody who's been there before. And you built and sold 3 businesses. We were like, okay, this guy has talked the talk. I want to learn a little bit more about, like, why did you decide to say, okay, I'm done with building my SaaSes. Maybe I'll do some investment. I'm not going to go into the grind of starting a SaaS business, and I want to start helping other people find their exit. Talk to me about those days, those months of thinking about becoming a coach.
It's a fun question because I was anti-coach for 2 years. Like, hated the term. It's funny because coaches literally transformed my life. But I think just like real estate agents or social media experts, there's like a lot of noise in the signal.
Yeah.
So,
sales too. Sales.
Yeah, sales. I mean, so I never called myself a coach. What happened was, I was just finishing up Clarity. So I exited that company. And I remember having my friend Martell, who's like the French Tony Robbins, incredible speaker. He's like one of the youngest indoctrinated speaker Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Yeah, he just happened to live like 8 miles down the street from where I live. He was at my house having lunch, and he's the one that planted the seed. He was watching some of my YouTube stuff I was doing at the time, and he goes, "Have you ever thought of coaching?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "I think you'd be really good at it." I go, "It's not for me. Like, I'm a business builder, I'm an operator." And he planted the seed. And the only thing that I knew is I just didn't see the desire to spend an hour on a phone call every 2 weeks with somebody the way I had engaged coaches, because, I just feel like I can tell you what you need to do. Then you got to actually go and do the work. So
it could be also disappointing. It could be quite disheartening sometimes.
Yeah. And just like, I just think sometimes people are going to move at their own pace, and that's totally fine. So actually my first coaching thing I ever launched was a cohort, and it was like 12 people. They were most of them were my best friends. So literally 4 of my best friends, my wife, my brother, and 6 other people that had been following me at the time. That was my first program I ever launched. It was for 6 months. I think I charged like $10K for, 12 modules to this thing. And it was so rewarding, man. It was like seeing other people, and the group format made it really fun for me because it allowed me to like teach and then also answer questions and then watch how, because I always thought this with my coaches. At the time I was working with this lady who brought companies public. She was incredibly, well known in the Silicon Valley space and like, just successful. But I always joked, I was like, I never met her clients. And honestly, for me, and I mean, I feel like we resonate the same thing. Like, we learn from other people. So why wouldn't you host a dinner and invite me to it and allow me to meet your other clients? Because we're all learning the same methodology, and all of a sudden we can cross-reference our notes and say, like, when she said this, how did you take that? So doing the group was actually transformative for me, because that showed me that sometimes there's the content of what I'm teaching, but then the community is a big part of it.
I feel like you actually learn, this is my experience, sometimes you learn more through other people's experiences and watching you coach somebody else, because you're not so self-conscious when you're on the hot seat. Like, am I sounding stupid? What's happening here?
You won't even ask the question sometimes. You're like, I'm not asking that question. Oh, I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. It's like, oftentimes it's what's caught, not taught. It's not what I said. It's what somebody inferred. And then what's cool is even doing like a breakout session and have everybody write down their top 3 takeaways and share them with each other.
Yeah.
So even orchestrating a group coaching structure is a skill I paid somebody to learn. So like, I'm a big fan of investing in the thing I want to get great at, and then incorporating that into my events, into my coaching, into my sessions, I think has just been like the most beautiful skill. It turns out it's also a great thing to do with your teams. So the better of a coach I've gotten, the better I've been as a leader. It sounds crazy, but I'm learning how to develop people, and that is the ultimate skill.
How was that like transition? Obviously you had to pick up some skills, even maybe just start thinking about your own identity differently. That transition from builder, put the product out in the world, market it, make sure that I'm making more than I'm spending, all that kind of stuff, versus, okay, now I got to build this coaching program now. And now I got to figure out these students. I got to know how to get a result. And
it was tough. I'll tell you why it was tough. This is the first time in my life that the thing I sold was me. Like, hey man, Webinar Ninja, it's a platform, use it. You don't like it. Oh, that's too bad. The features don't work. Hiring Omar and you not wanting to work with me no more, that hurts my feelings. That's what I got. I got like, the first time you do a call with somebody that's interested, and it's like, yeah, I'm evaluating a few coaches, and you're like, ouch, they're like, I decided to go a different route. So it was hard for me, I think, because I was used to selling a product, and now here I am trying to like sell me, but not be salesy and not, it was very interesting. And just even the marketing, like I didn't want to lead because I think oftentimes we attract what we use to impress. And I'd watched a lot of these internet gurus, right? Yeah. That like build these audience of folks that I would never want to coach because there's a bunch of people that are like, get rich quick or entitled or whatever their thing is. Yep. Because they use those things to impress those people. They create a community of it. And I was like, I would be very upset if I had to coach those people. So I just kept leading with like strategies and knowledge and experience and stories and just trying to put my stuff out there. And it was hard to learn. I mean, literally learning how to tell a story about the worst stuff that's ever happened to you as a lesson to help somebody see a perspective differently. That's not easy. And just even the coach moniker, I put it off for 2 years. Actually, Kyle Racky from Proposify?
I've heard of Proposify.
Yeah. So Kyle was a client and he's the one, man. He did a whole podcast called Here's Why My Coach is One of the Best Investments I Ever Made. And he called me his coach. And I remember the day I was like, I should probably add that to my Twitter and my social media. Yeah. And then I became a coach, and slowly I became really proud because I was actually working with a lot of incredible entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. But yeah, marketing was so weird because it's like you're the product, and it took a while. It wasn't till I started building out a team where I felt like I was finding my zone of genius in regards to the business itself that it started to get really fun. But I mean, like marketing and doing sales, like, dude, I did your sales call.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's just like, I just, or even like when people would cancel or not renew, like it would break my heart. Yeah. So eventually I told the team, stop telling me. Like if I find out later on that they didn't renew and we're at an event and they're just like, yeah, I really enjoyed working with you. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like I just didn't want to know. I think the world will show you where you're not free. Yeah. And those moments of feeling really awkward, putting myself out there and creating content, and it shaped me big time.
So I'm going to share something that maybe I haven't told you. So I've been doing a couple of keynotes at SaaS conferences, business conferences the last few months. MicroConf, I spoke at DCBKK, and then they have a Q&A after that. And people ask me, okay, what was like the pivotal moment for Webinar Ninja's trajectory? How did you guys like get out of the grind and start growing and start hiring and start becoming a valuable company to be acquired? And the answer is very shocking for people. And I said, I hired a coach, Dan. I mentioned you, of course. Dan Martell was my coach for a very long time. But he gave me some tough love. He told me the truth. And he asked me like real questions. Some of the questions, I'm getting kind of emotional about it because I remember when you would ask me questions like, do you actually want this? Do you actually want to win? Or are you just trying to like not lose? And I was just like, yeah, I guess I'm a little afraid of losing, and I'm afraid, I just kind of want to keep it going and not aspire for something bigger. And then you helped me break through that, and you gave me some tough love that I needed at the moment. I'm not sure if that's right for everybody. I need that because that's something that I really appreciate when somebody tells me the honest truth, tells me my numbers suck when they suck, tells me, like I'm not doing a good job with recruiting or the things I was struggling with. What was the response of that style with your clients? Do some people just eat it up and some people just can't take it?
Oh, yeah. So what's interesting is I just believe like when you build an audience, right? Coaching clients, social media audience, followers, that, when a big audience comes with big responsibility. Essentially, you can be well known and have zero influence. It's like FouseyTube or whatever. Like there's
That's a good one.
Yeah. Like a lot of people watch, but it's a train wreck, right? Whereas like, the other streamers like a Kai or a Speed, which are, these multi-million follower audiences, when they do something, people pay attention, right? And I think that's the responsibility. I've always thought to myself, if I'm going to have the privilege of getting that attention, I want to do right by it. And I had to be honest with myself that I couldn't hold back. I had to be a truth teller. And I'm telling you, it's the hardest thing to get okay with because you understand in that moment, you may not be liked or you may be misunderstood. The way I resolved it, anytime I gave people tough love, was my intentions pure. My intentions are always, I see what you're capable of. I see the story you're telling yourself that's going to hold you back from that capable outcome. And I need to ask you if you see it. And if you tell me you don't, I'm going to sell you on why you do. And then once you understand it and you see it for yourself, it's up to you. Like sunlight sanitizes all things. All I did as a truth teller is bring things to the sunlight. Yeah. I'm like, literally, stop hiding. You're hiding right now. You're playing entrepreneur. This is what excellence looks like. Mm-hmm. This is what it's going to ask of you. Do you want that? Oh, and by the way, I'll go first. Mm-hmm. Omar, I've never asked you to do anything. I've never told you to do anything that I haven't done, perfected, executed, and been very incredibly consistent at. I just could never do that. I've never been a hypocrite. I can't stand fat life coaches. I can't stand fucking broke business coaches. I just never wanted to be that person. Yeah. And does my style not work for some people? 1,000%. Yeah. But does it cause me to lose sleep? 0. Because my intention is always to be the biggest cheerleader for you. I just want everybody to win. Yeah. And I know sometimes some people need to be shooken up. But I've kicked people out of my program and said, go find somebody else to, like literally, here's a full refund. Go find another community to go get involved in, because somebody else is going to caress and coddle you and you might like that. It's not what you need. Yeah. Come back when you're ready.
Yeah. And a lot of people ask me like, okay, what did Dan, what hacks did he give you? Like, it wasn't like one little thing. Actually, the thing that you gave us that was the most valuable was systems. Like, that was the thing. It was so boring and it was so tedious to put these SOPs together and to train our team and to get our team to write the SOPs. And in the moment, you're like, what is this? But it made it so much easier for us to hire, so much easier for us to train.
Scale, exit, all of it. I mean, at the end of the day, the playbooks is what makes the business valuable.
I mean, the first thing when we went through due diligence with ProProfs has acquired so many companies, Qualaroo, and the first thing they said to us is like, your systems are impeccable. Yeah. Like, this is so easy to acquire because
I'm a proud dad right
there
now.
You go.
That is cool, dude. I love that.
And everything's documented. From commenting code, from how we deployed, everything was just like so perfectly put together. Videos, documentation, everything. And we were like, people were crazy, like, why are we wasting all this time? Like, no, this is important. And it really helped big time. I have a story I haven't shared with you about SaaS Academy. 2012, Nicole and I leave our teaching career. Both Nicole and I are teachers for over 10 years. And we start our full-time entrepreneurship career. She wanted to get into film. She went to New York Film Academy. And I was kind of her part-time slate video audio guy. And I started a business consulting firm. I built websites for people. And that's kind of how I got my chops in full-time entrepreneurship. I was like side hustling for a long time. Our first client, Nicole's first client, was a hedge fund in New York. And they wanted some sort of documentary style video to show off some sort of competition they're running. And we're like, awesome, this guy is going to hire us $500 for this gig. It was like 5 videos and 3 days of shooting and whatever, right? $500. A year later, they like rehire us for like $3,500. Eventually, Nicole and I stopped doing the film work because we're focused on the $100 MBA, Webinar Ninja. We had to say no to everything and just focus on our businesses. 2020, I'm sitting at the table at SaaS Academy, the round tables you put together. And across the table is Tim Harrington, the guy that hired us for $500. And I was like, what the hell is this? I was like, in that moment, I was like, there's got to be something going on here where Dan is attracting like-minded people somehow, from Battlefin. Yeah, Tim is incredible. And we were laughing and we're having a great time at the table. And people were like, what's going on? I was like, oh, we know each other from way back, different worlds, different lifetime, blah, blah, blah. But do you believe in some sort of power that brings you into the worlds of other people?
Oh, 1,000%. Here's what's interesting about life. The irony of it is that it makes complete sense looking backwards, but it has to be lived forward. Yeah. And so all I've gotten really good at is just absolutely smiling in the perfection of what it is in the moment that like I'm in Australia in your home, dude. Yeah. Like, it's kind of awesome. There's like a handful of people in the whole country I'm here to visit, and you're one of them. Zero surprise that you came into my life. You supported the book when it launched, that it's all perfect, right? Because like, I remember when I was training for my Ironman, and it was literally around 2020 because COVID happened and the whole world shut down and the race got canceled. But I kept training for it because we decided we're going to run our own unsupported race. And as I'm training for it, I get hit by a car. Okay, cut off, I smashed in the side of the car. It's all on video. I have a video of this. And that was bad. And then I kept training. And then I end up cutting my heel wide open, my Achilles. And that was an issue. And I remember like everybody around me saying, maybe this is a sign, maybe this is a sign that you should take it easy. People would say this, like, calm down, Dan. Maybe you're running too hot. Maybe you should chill out a little bit. And I got so mad. I was like, maybe this is actually exactly what I need to prepare me for what I'm about to go through. Maybe what I've been asking for, this is what gets me ready to receive. Maybe everything that's ever happened to me my whole life is going to prepare me for the moment where I can actually be ready for the challenge that's going to be facing me, and that it's not that I should stop or slow down. So when I think of like all the perfect, beautiful introductions, conversations, you know, even you were mentioning Rob earlier. I still remember when I was talking to him and Liam, and just like all these people have come into my life. I just believe all of it is just like perfect. But I think it's a response to your energy. I think that had I been different, I would have attracted different people into my life. You know, when you go to those events, you talk to people, you can just trust the fact they're in this room. They're good people. You don't meet, like I said, you attract what you used to impress. I was always leading with my ideas. I wasn't leading with fancy cars and make a lot of money in 6 months and, you know, young hustler millionaire. I was like, hey, this is how you beat churn. This is how you build a go-to-market. Here's how recognition works. Like, just nerdy business concept. But the people that showed up were just like, I called them kind warriors. They were like kind people that were willing to do the work. And that's why I was never surprised when I would meet people and they'd be like, man, I met this guy and it's just like me. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how it works. That's how community works, right? It's curated.
Totally. A few years ago, you wrote a book, one of my favorite books, because I think people, I don't know if have you trademarked Buy Back Your Time?
I don't have a trademark, no.
Okay, because people talk about this phrase all the time. And I'm like,
well, I think people have been saying that word before I ever wrote a book about it.
Okay,
so,
but I feel like you've made it
I brought
thing.
it into the lexicon for sure.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So you wrote this book, and it's a topic that is beyond like this idea of like, okay, outsource and, you know, buy yourself some ready-made meals. It's not life hacks. I think what people don't understand, and it takes a very long time for people to get this, especially people in a job, is your time is the most valuable asset. Like, you cannot make more time, okay? The breath I just took is numbered, and it could be my last, and it's definitely, you know, not going to increase over time.
Unlimited, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you obviously have the lens of business, you have the lens of life when it comes to like, hey, how do you take control of their most valuable asset again? How do you figure out a way for you to let money allow you to live a life that you want, but also how do you utilize your time in ways that light you up? While you launched this book, you actually practiced what you preached, and you started to transition out of being the guy that was doing everything in SaaS Academy. I got really lucky. I told you this. I got really lucky. I got in when you were doing the sales calls, you were doing the one-on-one calls and the checkups, you were doing the monthly calls with the group, you know, master classes, you were doing the events on stage, teaching probably 60 to 70%. You know, you get Patrick Campbell up there, but what, you know, but
I have a couple speakers. Take some time with that.
Exactly.
I was on stage for 2 days.
So were you feeling forced to be like, I got to do what I'm writing about, or did the transition happen before you wrote the book?
No, I mean, I've been doing the buyback principle my whole life. I mean, I wrote a book about how I was able to scale companies, how I was able to live an integrated life, how I was able to, you know, really become the person. I mean, the premise is very simple. The world rewards those that create value. They don't reward those who work hard, because the guy that built a cement wall works harder than I do. And unfortunately, the compensation I'm going to receive for what I do in a day is going to be a lot more than that person that built that wall. So if you understand,
I want to stop there for a second, because some people might hear that and feel like, well, that's not fair. That's not whatever. And we're playing in a game called the marketplace.
Yeah.
And the marketplace right now values certain things.
Yep.
And you're either valuable in those things or you're not, right? And there's obviously a spectrum, and you're somewhere in between. Some people are becoming less and less valuable as days go by because of AI and all of the technologies happening every day.
100%.
But that doesn't mean you're not valuable in society. It doesn't.
Yeah,
mean
and that's a different value. Like you can be, I can value your soul.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to give you everything in my bank account. So like, this is not a debate about like your humanity. This is about the size of problems you solve for other people, because that's what labor is. It's like you pay somebody to solve a problem for you, and if somebody can clean your windows, that's one size problem versus fix your car when it's not running. So whether you like it or not, you get paid based on that. And at a certain point, you need to trade better, some capital to get some time back to go invest to be better. That's what Buy Back Your Time at the core is about. It's, you know, until you get to a place where you have more income coming than time to like have to go be better and become the person, then that's the whole trade. And those are the time trades. And that's all I've gotten really good at. So even with SaaS Academy, you know, I remember when I mapped it out, I was like, I love to coach. Here's my thing. And in my book, I call it the production quadrant, right? The drip matrix. So in the top right quadrant is production, which is I like to create new frameworks and coach. I don't like to repeat myself. And that comes from software. Anybody's written code, it's called dry. Do not repeat yourself. So what I did is for a while, and the reason why is like I had to do the sales call to build the frameworks to then hire a salesperson. And I did. Then I had to build a marketing program till I could afford to hire somebody. And I did. And that's in my book. I call it the replacement ladder. So if you look at the timeline of SaaS Academy, I was just executing the framework. And then you came in right after, like probably a month before I handed off the sales calls. And then I kept the coaching, but then I got rid of the onboarding, but you were already in by then. And then I had to create the catalog of frameworks for growth.
The videos and all that
yes,
stuff.
and I knew there was about 350 because I broke down SaaS business into 6 components, and then each one of them had like these 3 accelerators. And like I knew what I had to build, but it took time because I wasn't going to just like sit there and create them right away. I used the events and the monthly training sessions to create them. With the vision, I always knew to write a book because then the book would become the certification for the coaches that would then teach the methodology, which just came out 3 months ago called Software as a Science.
Yeah.
So like I knew where I was going to end up. It just, like everything, it takes time. And it's been fun because I honestly don't think I can think of another coach that started as a face of their company, still owns it, and it continues to grow, and they're no longer involved. And I'm essentially the president on the board. Johnny's the CEO, and the team runs it, and it's incredible. And we have incredible coaches, and we monitor it. And yeah, we just had the largest event we've ever done, and it's beautiful. And the NPS scores are off the chart. So that's I'm proud of. But honestly, like that's how I built my Martell Ventures. Like, you know, I've never stopped investing, and then I started buying software companies with Kevin at Big Band Software. So he's my partner in the acquisition side. And then Martell Ventures, we incubate software companies now. So I've always just done software. The coaching has just been my outlet for teaching. And then with the media stuff I'm doing now, that's just my version of amplifying that. Yeah. And that's been the latest like new skill acquisition. Because I mean, if you want to become more value, you got to go add skills that become valuable. Communicating, persuading, leading yourself, dealing with your mindset, improving your belief systems. Those are all incredibly valuable skills because people, like I mentor these 14-year-old kids for free. It's my King's Club program. And like, I remember the first day I just taught them the simple concept of positive expectation versus negative expectation. I was like, you got 2 people, Mr. Happy Face, Mr. Grumpy Face. Who do you want to help? Yeah. Happy Face. How about we just start with that simple premise of trying to be a happy person? And they were like, oh, I get it. Exactly. So right now you might be neutral because you're an introvert and you don't smile. I would encourage you to smile at every person you see for the next week. Build that happy face character, right? And then guess what? That's valuable because being a happy person on a team is actually valuable. It's something I look for. And then you can add the skills to make yourself like actually create and be more productive. But I just think that is the essence of buying back your time is being a better time trader.
Right. I used your book. When we sold Webinar Ninja, I went all in on 100 MBA, and I wanted my life to be different because total transparency, I was working 16 hours a day with Webinar Ninja. I didn't prioritize my health. I didn't prioritize my relationships. I didn't prioritize what I love. I love to snowboard. I love travel. I was just putting that one day. And I saw this like window of opportunity. It was like, okay, now I can kind of shape this business the way I want. I went to your book and I thought, okay, what are the things I want to do and only do, right? And really it's just the content I want to teach because that's what I've been doing all my life. And we've built a team whole around that. And that was really like such a small concept, but so powerful. We're just like, what do you like to do? Just do that and get everybody else to do everything. Like, I don't have to do all the other stuff.
No.
You know, especially when you have some capital, it's easy to kind of like, okay, now I can do this and hire the best. It's like, by the way, like it's so great to hire the best, to work with the best. And it's just a great feeling. Cheat code, but then you realize I actually am not good at this. Like I thought, I can't let somebody else do it. No, they're better.
Most people don't realize that to be great at something is to actually communicate how it works. Like, you know, Tom Clancy?
Yeah.
Okay. So he just came out with a best-selling book called like, you know, Defense Protocol or something last month. bestseller. He's a Hunt of Red October, Patriot Games, a lot of the video games, Rainbow Six, all that stuff.
The Amazon show that's really popular.
Jack Ryan.
Yeah, Jack Ryan. Yeah.
Okay, he died in 2013. So most people don't even realize that you can be an artist and create a process for creating your art. And after your time here on Earth, it continues to pay massive dividends.
Wow.
So explain me that, people that think you're a magic snowflake, that nobody else can do the thing you can do. It can be done. And I use those examples, or the Warhol, the factory. So Andy Warhol, he created art, but he had a whole team of people that supported him because he knew that his favorite part of it was the ideation. Or Steve Jobs with Johnny Ives, where he would just be like, look, I want you guys to tell me what the state of the art of the hardware looks like, and let me try to figure out how that's going to be applied, where this like human interaction meets innovation and technology. And that was the fun part for him, to go into the design studio to like play around with these pieces of hardware and interface design. But he wasn't sitting there at a routing machine, right? He got to collaborate. And I just think, like, when you give yourself permission to really go all in on the thing. I mean, Mr. Beast is probably the modern day example of this, and you see it. He talks about it all the time. He's like, I just have a bunch of clones, and they follow me around, and they help me do stuff until they get good enough to do it without me having to be involved, and then they take it off my plate. And he literally says, this is how I built, Beast films. It's like, I just kept throwing stuff over my shoulder until the person could catch it and do it, and it worked. And then all of a sudden, now he has the largest YouTube channel and the biggest, he just did Beast games. It's like, I mean, I just think that that's how it's always been. It's just, I guess nobody ever talked about it. And a lot of people, unfortunately, they did it, but they didn't know they were doing it. Yeah. And I just codify things. I'm a principles teacher. I don't even want to talk about like the steps per se. I want to talk about the principle behind the steps so that you can apply it to the different areas of your life. Yeah. And it makes it more fun. And the coolest part about that, Omar, is you'll do this for the rest of your life because you enjoy it. And anytime
that's the coolest part,
dude. My Martell Media is me doing what I love to do in a way that I'll never have to not do it because I enjoy doing it. Mm-hmm. And if there's any aspect of it that I don't enjoy doing it, I don't mind giving it up to somebody else, because even if I could do it better, my disimpassionate version of it will never beat an up and coming passionate version of it from somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I might be able to edit better today, but my lack of desire to do it, and it feels like a grind versus somebody else. Dude, your energy that you use to create the thing is felt by the viewer.
Yeah.
The energy, the book, the reason why the book did so well, dude, I poured my heart into it. Every word, every comma, every sentence. It rewrote it 3 times. It's like, I knew who I was writing it for. I knew that I wanted it to hit the right way. And that energy I put into it, I think, was felt by the reader. And I just consider that always the ultimate form of expression in art. It's just, if you don't love doing it anymore, you're better off finding somebody else that is like super, like still nerdy about it, right? Like they're just like still in that awe phase.
Yeah.
And mentor them and give them those pieces, and then just, collaborate. I think co-creating with other people is like my favorite thing about business.
Yeah. The co-creating is great, but also this concept is like, who's the best in the game? Like, the people that I admire most did this. Like, I'm an unashamed, big Michael Jackson fan. And Thriller is the best-selling album of all time because the producer's Quincy Jones. The guy has the Midas touch. Everything he does is amazing. Rest in peace, just passed away. You look at all the great athletes, they have great coaches, they have people that are helping them, and they've done it before. And for some reason, we want to have this badge of honor of like, I did it myself. And I was talking about this at SaaS at MicroConf, that I'm not a big fan of this narrative that's happening on X, where everybody's just feeling so proud of themselves of, I'm doing, 500K ARR, and I'm a solopreneur, and I built this software by myself, and I do the coding at night, and I do the marketing by day. It's like, this is nothing to be proud of, bro. You're doing this on hard mode. Like, why are you doing this? And I'm sure you've seen it as a coach, but do you think I personally think it's fear. I think it's you're scared to kind of get people involved in your world. What do you think the reason why people just want to kind of like, I'm going to plow through the valley by myself?
Well, I know personally, I used to think that. So back when I started my first company, my first successful company, I hired my coach, Bob, and we did pretty well. A couple of years in, we got to a new plateau, and I hired a different guy, Stu. And Stu, I met through my dad. My dad worked at Siemens Westinghouse, so like big Fortune, whatever, 500. And Stu was like a consultant that they brought in that lived in another city. But then I kind of reached out to him because I was in a tough spot. I remember I was talking to Stu and I was running into a negotiation issue around IP ownership with a massive company we were doing some software stuff for. And he goes, "Why don't you call your dad?" I go, "Why would I call my dad?" And he goes, "Dan, your dad's one of the best business minds I've ever interacted with in my whole career. What are you talking about?" And I was like, "My dad?" He's like, "Yeah." I go, "Nah, we're not calling my dad. Let's figure this out, you and I." He's like, "Why?" Wow. I said, "Well, I want to do it on my own." Dude, you want to know where my tough love comes from? People like Stu in my life. He said, "That is the dumbest thing you've ever said to me." And I'll tell you why. He goes, "You have access to somebody that cares a lot about you, that would actually put the time aside to meet with you, to teach you what I know." He has the answer. I've seen him do this. The thing you need help with right now, he literally knows how. Yeah. And your ego is in the way of getting that help. So do you care more about doing this on your own or winning and doing it for your team? Yeah. Which one is going to win right now? And I said, "I'll go call my dad." And I remember two things.
That's a friend for life.
My dad never been more excited to receive a call from me. And two, gave me the answer in 30 seconds that I needed to hear. I didn't even understand how these clauses work.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, like, I'm going to take advantage of everything I've been given. That's why it's funny. Like, I have a lot of friends that are really close to me and they never ask me for advice.
Yeah.
It's not because they're like, "Oh, Dan's a coach, he gets paid, I'm not going to take advantage of it." Like, I want to. If you're my friend, I want to help you. You don't need to be in my program or anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's just their fear of success. Yeah. So I know why people don't do it, because they literally are scared of how successful. Most people think it's fear of failure. I actually think it's fear of success. I think there's something you believe about being successful that scares you, right? Some negative belief. And that is showing up in your life today in the form of sabotage, telling yourself, "I got to do it all myself." You're silly. Because if you had that time back, you could go be way more productive doing the thing that made you more money to accelerate your path to that future vision. But you have a belief about what that means. And it could be the belief is that if I have other people that help and they take the credit, then nobody's going to believe that I'm as good as I think I am, which comes from a place of insecurity. Let's talk about that.
I was shaking my head there because you told me that on a call. You told me you're afraid of success. You had this concept of you won't grow into pain.
Nope.
And I didn't get it for a while. But once I got it, my parents didn't come from money. My parents are immigrants from Egypt, came to the U.S., had to learn the language. My mom was an elevator operator until she got her degree. She worked hard. My dad worked hard. My dad was in sales. Great parents. They were never ahead with money. We never had a lot of money growing up. I was lucky enough to be in a home that I didn't really feel poor, but we were poor. And I think deep down, I realized when you told me that after a long walk with Nicole, that I think I'm afraid I'm going to screw up being rich. Like, because I've never had money to deal with it. I've always kind of went month to month or whatever. Okay, we're doing all right now, but never had to worry about how to invest or how to,
Yeah, what if I get a big windfall, everybody knows, and I lose it?
Yeah.
Those are all real fears. I literally think that whatever your goal is, you either have limiting beliefs or negative beliefs. The limiting beliefs are about your abilities. The negative beliefs are about the people that have achieved. So if you think about just the concept of being rich and you have a negative belief of rich people being selfish, how hard are you going to fight to go be rich if you think rich people are selfish? What if you think that rich people don't pay taxes? What if you think that rich people are compensating for something? Or what if you think that, whatever, like there's just, or that I'm going to lose it, or that I won't know how to manage my money, or whatever it is. But I'd like to make a list of that stuff and bring it to the surface so I can evaluate it and be honest. See, a lot of people, it's fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of success. And most people are so capable and they know their light is so powerful if they allowed themselves to shine it, that it scares them to even think about what that could look like. Even with social media, people listen to this podcast and they're like, "Man, I'd love to have a podcast."
Yeah.
But then they're worried, well, what if I was massively successful and now all of a sudden getting fake accounts made up of me,
Yeah.
asking people to
Absolutely.
invest in. Dude, I mean, nonstop. Like these are the things. But some people have these fears. What if I accidentally say something that was a private conversation, but now it's on my pod and it's public, and then the person hears it and they get mad at me? Again, all real concerns.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, your fear of success is the thing you have to go work on. So I say the world will show you where you're not free. Your insecurity about being successful is the work to go do.
I think what helped me a lot was I had a chat with my sister Mona. We were close growing up. She's my older sister. I have two older sisters, but we were closer in age. And she said to me, "You're already successful. What are you talking about? Like, I talk to my friends about you. They're like, your brother's like a big podcaster, blah, blah, blah. Like that ship has passed. Like, like, what are you afraid of?" And I was just like, "Oh, I never thought about that." Like, I've already done better than my parents. I've already kind of, from a financial point of view, from a business point of view, like
impact.
Stuff. Yeah, and that kind of helped me along with your advice. I haven't seen you in 4.5 years, and when you walked through my door, I was like, "Dude, this guy looks great."
Thanks, man.
This guy looks great. I want to talk about, your transformation in terms of prioritizing your health, prioritizing your fitness. What was kind of that moment where you're just like, I gotta take this seriously, and why? Because you weren't unhealthy when I saw you.
No, I mean, I was doing CrossFit back then. I was running. I just wasn't disciplined. I lied to myself, man. I lied to myself about at the time, I would have been 40 and like I had a young family and like I wasn't fat, but I was chubby. I was like, you know what I mean? I was carrying some extra weight. And what happened was just this like realization that I don't look the way I feel. I hope people understand this is like, and I don't look the way I should for the amount of effort. Workout every day. I call it sweat every day. I was doing Ironmans. I was doing races to try to keep the weight down. I'd eat like crap, right? But if you're doing triathlons, like you're literally burning extra 2,000 calories a day. So you can like kind of be a little loosey-goosey with your meal. And I remember just getting to a point where for me, everything in life is like, who do I need to become to achieve the next level? It's not how do I do it? It's who do I need to be? Because I believe we don't create success, we attract success by becoming an attractive person that pulls that like, and I knew I needed the energy, I needed the physicality, I needed the presence. Like if I really want a shot at communicating to young people to like, they can't look at me and go like, "Oh, that's just a dad," right? Like there needs to be kind of a thing. And I'm hanging out with a bunch of guys on the media team that are all like bodybuilders and stuff. So I went all in, man. I made a 90-day commitment to have visible abs. I didn't know how to do it. It was a whole thing we documented on my YouTube channel. And I went from, 17% body fat, which is not crazy, down to 4%, like full cut, like full progressive overload, macro-based nutrition. And it's a year later and I'm the same effort. I work out every day. Bicep veins is a McLaren of the body, I say. So it's just become culture. It's just, I'm unapologetic about it because I went for so long lying to myself.
So sell it to the listeners. Like what benefits outside of looking good?
Oh, health is wealth. Like I call it quiet confidence. Like a lot of guys that I help, like with their macros or their progressive overload, their training style, once they get lean and ripped, and I'm talking like not good for your age. I'm talking like undeniably different than the rest of the population. You just don't have to say anything. You see it in somebody's face. You see it in their presence. And it's just like that comes with a ton of other things, right? Your confidence goes up. Most people don't have the money they want, not because they're not skillful. It's because they don't feel they deserve it. You don't get what you think you deserve. You get what you think you're worth. And if you're not willing to fight it because you don't keep the commitments you make to yourself, you're lying to yourself. Yeah. And I know when I say that, I trigger people. Good. Dude, if my truth shows people where they've been living a lie, that's what I'm here for. And I used to live that lie. I used to use races as a way to keep my fitness in check, or like, I don't need to use food as a way to comfort myself anymore, right? Like I'm doing a whole day of media. I got meal prep in the car. Food is fuel. I want to use it because like, I didn't know that micronutrients is how you feel. Macronutrition is how you look. Calories is how much you weigh. Well, once I learned that, I was like, okay, well, how I look is macros. What do I need to change my macros? Well, I mean, the whole thing, right? And like carb loading and cutting your fats and all this stuff. It's just most people don't even track their food. And then they have all these beliefs. Again, what's the belief? Well, life would be boring. My life isn't anything but boring. It doesn't mean I don't have the opportunity to go have a fun meal. I just don't do it every day. The energy is off the charts. The influence, man, you know, like most kids, I mean, the truth is the biggest abuse to a child is an unlived dream of a parent.
Wow.
That's facts. And that one's really going to get people going, but it has to be said, man. Like the amount of parents that I see come and drop their kids off at King's Club. And they drop them in and they say, you know, it's 100 kids, max out, it sells out every time. And I mentor these kids. Parents aren't allowed in the room. And they wait outside. And I watch them essentially like, please go listen to this person.
Right.
Because I can't. I didn't do the thing I know he's going to teach you. And I would love that for you. So please go listen to this person. I want to freaking grab all the parents and put them in a headlock and say, hey, it's time for you guys to step up. It's not too late. Zero too late.
Yeah.
Dude, I know like what's fun about being here is 20 years ago I was here. 20 years ago I was a broke backpacker traveling around Australia. Today I fly around on my jet and like have a beautiful life. 20 years from now, man, what's that going to look like? 20 years from that? Like I just think that people, even if you're 6 years old, you can transform your life in 6 months. 1,000 days at most. 1,000 days. You know this. $100 million or $100 MBA and 1,000 days of consistency. Dude, it took me 90 days to transform my body. Yeah. I documented the whole thing. It's all on YouTube. I share it all. It's all free.
Yeah. One of my favorite tips from Scott Adams, one of his books, is just show up to the gym every day. Just like, that's all you got to do. Just walk through the doors. Because once you're through the doors, I'll do a few reps. Okay, I want to get on the treadmill, like whatever. But what I found in terms of exercising every day is that it's such a huge confidence builder because you learn that you're not breaking promises to yourself.
Dude, that is how confidence is built. Keeping the commitments you make to yourself in private.
Yeah.
Period, full stop. Yesterday was one of those gym days.
Yeah.
I went in the gym. I literally looked at Sam, who's traveling with me, and I said, no part of me wants to be here. Today we do the work. Yeah. Today is the day I actually earn the confidence because there's no part of me that wants to be there. Yeah. The days I want to be there, that's easy. Okay. I land after a 16-hour flight and I know to reset my body, going to the gym is an incredible habit. And I just had to get through the front door. 23 minutes later, I'm laughing at how good I feel. Literally. I'm like, prioritize the pump, man. Pump cures all. Like just getting that exercise in changed my whole energy. And that's why happy face, grumpy face. Like these are very simple concepts and it teaches you so much. So it costs nothing really to work out. You can do air squats and push-ups and sit-ups. You don't have to go to gym, but if you go to gym, you should. And that skill set of learning to dial in your nutrition, you know, going to the gym, deferred gratification. Like it doesn't matter where you're at in your life. Getting your fitness and your health in check is a beautiful foundation for success, period, full stop. And it's something you can control. You can't control the weather. You can't control the news. You can't control politics. You can't control anything. You can control what you put in your mouth and what you do with your body. And it can start right now. And a diet can be started halfway through a bag of chips.
Yeah. I remember vividly when things were challenging at Webinar Ninja and I was going through some tough times and I had to make some tough decisions. The gym was like my retreat because it gave me a chance to, one, be in my own head, listen to my books, you know, do that kind of stuff. But also it gave me a chance to feel like I can control something. Like I have full control over this. And in business, sometimes there's a lot of things out of your control, you know, and sometimes you don't make the right decisions and you feel like, oh, well, why did that happen? All that kind of stuff. But the gym is kind of a constant you can always go back to. And it's kind of almost like a, I don't want to offend anybody, but it's a bit of like a temple, you know, where you get to have some form of meditation where you're just like, and everybody do you, like you said, find your thing, maybe it's
whatever
yoga.
It is.
Maybe it's, you know.
There was a quote at the gym yesterday on the wall, and I shared it on Instagram, and it said, there's no amount of hurt the iron can't cure. And I was just like, yes.
That is great.
Like no amount of hurt, or no amount of hurt the iron can't heal. Right? And it is that mental place for people to go. Because think about it, like in the moment where you want to stop doing that rep and you do one more. Yeah. You just taught yourself something beautiful.
Huge.
Yeah. And again, it's so subtle yet so impactful. And then you walk around with this quiet confidence. Yeah. You don't have to say anything. You're proud of yourself. You woke up and you went to the gym in the morning or at noon to reset your energy for the afternoon when you know most people didn't. You don't have to say anything. You walk into that meeting, notebook out, ready to go.
I'm winning already.
Yeah, you won the day, man. It's just that's been the unlock for me is bringing that level of quiet confidence into every aspect of my life, especially as a content creator. I think creating content is the ultimate personal development program. Dude, you wanna find where your demons hide? Go grab your phone and start talking to it and post it on your Facebook.
Yeah.
You want to see what the world will talk about when you start sharing your ideas and you want to read those comments? You will learn more about yourself creating content than going to therapy.
Yeah. What hurts, what doesn't, all that.
Dude, you'll find things that you didn't even know about the way you look or sound that other people will clearly communicate. And you're just like, wow.
It won't take too long.
That one was tough. Yeah. But I think in that place of intention of trying to help other people, like you will find yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Like I've become more Dan the more I've created content, because the only way to do it and for it to resonate is just allow yourself to be you through the camera. You can't wear a mask,
especially when you're doing consistently. There's no way.
Zero
you could
chance.
Do it. Yeah,
because then you're always like you're stressed out, and it's just like, oh, I didn't have the energy. It's like, no, just be you.
Right.
Everybody is really great at being themselves. It's the thing you can be the best at, and bring everything to you. And I think it's just a great personal development program where you just do the work.
I want to share with you something before we wrap up. I'm a huge basketball nerd. I love basketball. It's the through line of my whole life. Play basketball all my life.
It's good. You're so tall. I'd be sad for the basketball industry
when I
if you
see
didn't
someone
play
who's
it.
tall and doesn't play, I'm like, oh, we could use you. I believe it's very controversial. I don't know why it's controversial, but I believe Michael Jordan's the best player of all time. I think he's the GOAT. It's not even debatable. If you know, if you've seen him play, the dude just took over. You couldn't do anything about it. But Jordan didn't become Jordan until 91 when he won his first championship. 91, he won his first championship, and it was a couple years after Phil Jackson joined the Bulls. And Phil Jackson is known as one of the best coaches, if not the best coach of all time, 11 rings, coached Kobe, crazy. Guy's unbelievable, Zen master. And the reason why Jordan didn't win a championship without Phil Jackson as coach was because he wanted to do it all himself. He was dropping 55 a game. He was dropping 60s in the playoff, still losing, can't get to the finals. And then Phil Jackson taught him to trust his teammates. You got to trust your teammates. You got to be able to delegate. You got to be able to pass the ball. You got to be able to get them involved early. Don't just, forget about them. And that's what got him over the hump. In 91, he won his first championship, 92, 93, the first three-peat. And for me, those are the best years of Jordan because he was just fresh out of learning from his coach, learning how to make it happen. And another thing you may not know about me, I'm a little bit of a sneakerhead. I love sneakers. So as a new tradition, I wanted to get you something. And as one of my coaches that has helped me throughout my time, and my Phil Jackson, I'm not calling myself Jordan here, but my Phil Jackson, I got you a little something. So these are some very special Jordans.
Did you know about this?
These are some special Jordans.
Dude, I don't have a pair of Jordans.
You got to open these up. These are special.
This is going to be my first pair.
So first of all,
do you know my size?
Yeah. Renee told me.
Come on, dude.
Dan Martell
blue. Come on.
So,
dude.
So these Jordans are there's a part of the 91, 92, 93 championship, the sneaker he wore in those championships.
That's really kind of you, man.
Yeah, and I love them because
oh man,
they that's what started all for him.
Dude, I heard it was funny. This morning I was watching TikTok and some guy was asking, he was talking to Jordan, and he asked the question. He said, who would have won, the Bulls of back in the day or the Lakers of today? And he goes, that'd be a tough one. I mean, probably probably us, but only by a couple points. He's like, really? He goes, yeah, I mean, most of us are retired. So, I mean,
I believe it.
I know. And I was just like, that confidence?
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that's why.
Yeah.
You look at his mental capacity in his movies or his documentary. That's crazy. Dude, this is an honor.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks, man, for just the friendship and the mentorship throughout the years. I do think that we live in a world that's very small. And I feel like we've been lucky enough to get to know each other over the years. But I do feel like there were some forces that helped us get to know each other, and I'm really grateful for that force.
So am I, brother.
Thanks, appreciate it, man.
That's cool. Thanks, Omar. Take care. So good.
I hope you loved this conversation with Dan Martell as much as I did. He's not only a successful entrepreneur in my book, but he's also one of the most down-to-earth, curious, giving people I know. He's not only a friend or a mentor, but he's an inspiration. His story is proof that anyone can turn things around in their life and achieve great things if you have the right mindset and the guidance along the way. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to learn more from Dan Martell, head on over to his website, danmartell.com, and you can grab his book, Buy Back Your Time. It's one of the best investments you can make in your growth because it shows you through his buyback principle, which is the principle in his book, how to scale yourself and spend your time on what matters most to your business and your life. You can also check out everything else he offers on YouTube and his podcast over at danmartell.com. Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the $100 MBA Show. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend, with a family member. Send a text message, a WhatsApp, a messenger. Put it on social media. Send them an email. Tell them over dinner, whatever you want to do. The point here is that share this episode so others can grow just like you just grew in this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.